Good evening. My name is Leroy Brown, and welcome to Bridging the Gap. Bridging the Gap is a show that talks about a number of different topics. And tonight's subject will be very important to the people that are watching us because it goes to college campus crime prevention. And we have a number of law enforcement people that will talk to college campus crime prevention, and we also have a graduated student that actually went to one of the universities and is out now and can talk to some of the concerns that she had while she was a student at one of the universities. But before we actually get into the tape, and I'm going to have each person identify who they are and tell us a little about themselves and what role they play in college campus crime prevention. And I'll start with Officer Brian Ferry.
I'm Officer Brian Ferry, 27-year veteran with the Bolingbrook Police Department. I'm currently a crime prevention officer for the past 9 years. And I kind of came up with the idea of this idea of campus safety after seeing a program, a news show in the spring about a student being sexually assaulted and not reporting it. I thought to myself, what can we do to better empower our kids going to school, especially first-time students, freshman students? And I really wanted to get something out to the parents and the kids that are about to go to school, and even kids that are juniors or seniors going back to campus this coming fall. So I talked to Deputy Mayor Brown in regards to doing something like on Bridging the Gap, and we came up with this program and invited my colleagues in the professional law enforcement profession in campus safety, and they're here tonight, and I'll take it over to my left colleague here.
My name is Danielle Mosier, and I work with the Sexual Assault Service Center of Guardian Angel Community Services. I started there about 10 years ago as a volunteer, just doing general volunteer work. And then as time went on, I moved into working with the prevention program and with advocacy, especially medical advocacy. So actually going out into the hospitals and being the one to meet with victims when they report to the hospital saying they've either been sexually abused or sexually assaulted. Once I completed my degree in sociology, I was hired on as staff as a prevention educator, and I'm now the coordinator of prevention and advocacy.
My name is Lauren Hanford. I'm a recent graduate from Lewis University, where I received my bachelor's degree in criminal justice and psychology. I also received my master's degree in criminal justice. While I was at Lewis, I was a student athlete, and I lived on campus for 5 years, where I got to experience the college campus atmosphere. And currently, I am working as a campus safety officer at Lewis University.
Hi, my name is Officer Margie Lill, and I'm a police officer with the Lewis University Police Department. I started my career before Lewis a while back at Elmhurst Police Department. I had worked there for 10 years, where me and one of the detectives did awareness programs on criminal sexual assault with Elmhurst College and York High School. From there, I moved my career over to Oak Brook Terrace, where I did patrol. I was a patrol officer, and just before I had started Lewis, I worked at a police department called Campton Hills for about a year and a half. I've been with Lewis now for just about 3 years, where I do education programs on alcohol awareness, we do drug awareness, we do ALICE training for active shooter, and of course always go over safety tips of housing.
Chief.
I'm Mike Salatino, Chief of Police at Benedictine University. I'm responsible for the success of about 10,000 students throughout Illinois and Arizona. I've been a police officer for 43 years, and the job is still continuing. Lots to do.
Commander.
I'm Commander Melvin Cornelius of the Joliet Junior College Police Department. I have about 28 years experience combined working for the Department of Corrections, State of Illinois, in campus law enforcement. Early 1980s, worked for the Joliet Prison as a correctional officer. Transitioned my career into university policing, where I've been working with Joliet Junior College for well over 20 years, 15 of which I've been a commander. My role is to assist the chief in the management, supervision, operation, and direction of the department. So I'm at the forefront of all of our security measures at JJC. I'm a graduate of Northwestern University Center for Public Safety, where I attended School of Police Staff and Command, the Executive Management Program, and I have a master's from Lewis University in Public Safety Administration.
Officer Ferry, I know the prime reason or the main reason that you wanted to have this program aired is because you want to give parents a sense of knowing that their students are safe when they go to college. Moving on from that, what do you see as one of the main objectives or main concerns on our college campuses today?
Number one thing is being smart in regards to being a student. And crime prevention doesn't stop when you go to school. I want the kids to be empowered, knowing that they can handle any situation, knowing that they know what to do when they get in a position and how to handle it. Crime doesn't take a break when you go to school. You could be a victim of crime in your dorm room from your roommate if you don't secure your items. Your books could be stolen, something like that. You spend hundreds of dollars of books and all of a sudden it's gone, or your laptop or your tablet. My thought in regards to this prevention program, this program tonight, is to get the information out to the kids. Hey, you need to be aware that there are bad people out there, but if you are smart about it, you can have a safe campus year.
Now, Chief, you've been involved in police work for 43 years and dealing with a number of campus incidents. What do you see as one of the main concerns for our campus students first coming on to the campus themselves as a freshman?
You know, I see it all the time. I think that for young adults that are entering into formal education, whether you're a commuter at a community college or whether you're a residential student at a four-year institution, what they're not accustomed to and what they have to learn, and hopefully they learn through the various campus law enforcement initiatives that we have, is taking responsibility for their own actions. You know, if you were home, you wouldn't leave your front door open when you go to bed. Well, you shouldn't leave your dorm room unlocked or open. Would you leave your laptop or an expensive piece of electronic out in your front yard and go home and go to bed for the night? No, you wouldn't. Well, you also wouldn't want to do that on a college campus. So, you know, it's not that college campuses are any more dangerous than the community that you come from. It's just that now, possibly for the first time in your life, you're taking on the responsibility for your own success.
Officer Leo, what do you see that's a concern?
Well, when you see like incoming freshmen, the one thing that you notice is the ray of freedom they feel. And with that freedom, they forget to be responsible, like the chief was talking about, because they have parents that are responsible for them, the 4 years going through high school and growing up. So when they get to college, they kind of get lackadaisy in they're aware of their surroundings and being, locking their doors of their cars and, just like the chief said, locking your dorm rooms. I mean, they can really prevent themselves from being a victim by doing simple things, walking through the campus, how they wear their little iPods with their headphones and their heads are down on their texting their phone. You can just walk right up on them. Just put your head up and look around, see who's around you, where the closest building is in case something happens, around you. Be a good bystander because maybe something's not happening to you, but you might notice something happening to them. Sometimes that freedom gets so excited in their head, they forget to kind of narrow themselves down and get back to the reality of what's going on. Besides being free from your parents on campus, you're an adult now, and you have to act like an adult and be responsible.
Commander?
At JJC, we look at it from a holistic approach. It starts with having a professionalized, sworn police department patrolling your campuses that are highly visible. We have 6 campuses in 7 different counties and 18,000 commuter students. But then I think it transcends into specific areas, starting with driver safety. Oftentimes, our students are engaged in serious and life-threatening traffic crashes and collisions when they're on their way to school because they're not using safe driving practices. So we talk to our students about driver safety, planning enough time for your trip so that you're not speeding and you're obeying the rules of the road. Don't text and drive. Don't talk on the cell phone and drive. Don't be distracted, grooming yourself, things like eating and other things. We experience many traffic crashes and collisions in our parking lot. Last year, we had about 70. So we talked to them about the importance of coming to the college before the class. Know where your building is, know where your classrooms are, take your time and drive safely. But then we also use what we call the model as a foundation, the crime prevention triangle, that for every crime, a criminal has to have desire, ability, and opportunity. And so when we can't always determine a criminal's desire or ability, but we can reduce the odds of being a victim of crime by taking away that opportunity. And so then we transcend that into parking lot safety, building safety, personal safety, residence hall safety, and then identity theft. And so what we also have to recognize is the importance of creating a culture of safety and security. The police can't do it alone. So through our community policing program, we work with key stakeholders in our college campus, residence halls, Centennial Commons, housing community. We work with our student groups, clubs, and organizations, our dean of students, our extended campus. And what we do is we want to proactively resolve problems before they occur versus that traditional method of policing where you just respond to issues after they occur. And then we want to make ourselves accessible to our entire community, both internal and external. And when we put all these things together, we make JJC safe for all who come to learn, study, and work.
Danielle, what do you see from Guardian Homes, or Guardian Angel Homes? What are you seeing coming across your desk in your office in reference to students that reaches out to you?
One of the main things that we see for students on college campuses is that there are date rape drugs involved. And the most common date rape drug, I believe about 89% of the time, is alcohol. So drinking is a main issue when it comes to prevention of sexual assault on campuses. That's not to say that it's ever the victim's fault, and I always say that for any type of crime. There's a very fine line that you have to walk there between blaming the victim and just taking precaution. It's never anybody's fault if they're the victim of a crime because they can't be held accountable for somebody else's actions, but I believe wholeheartedly that there are things that we can do to protect ourselves at least. And I don't feel there's anything wrong with talking about all of these things that we've mentioned. So when it comes to drinking and partying, most sexual assaults that take place on campus happen at parties. Most are also on weekends between about midnight and 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. So just being extra cautious, using the buddy system, looking out for your friends, having that kind of, like a designated driver, but a designated friend who will help ensure the group's safety. I would say that's one of the main things that we see for students.
Lauren, you being a prior student, and I'm sure you further knowing with your education, also being an athlete at Lewis University, what would you tell an incoming freshman that's about to start their educational career in college? What would you tell them based on your experience at college?
I would say the first thing would be to think ahead. There's this new sense of freedom coming into school because you don't have your parents there to tell you what to do or to give you advice. So it's really easy to act on impulse. So you do see a lot of binge drinking and irresponsible behaviors such as the crazy driving and the kids running around and not following rules. So, and it's a new experience and you feel like you can do whatever you want when you want. So I think that being preventative and just thinking ahead and thinking about your actions before doing them is the best because it's a whole new world out there, and college is meant to be something to help you learn more about life, to get out from your parents and to learn something so you can take it out into the world and use it. So another thing, and just think ahead, be preventative.
That's smart. Officer Ferry, now, I'm sure you have a number of things that you would like to talk about as far as campus safety and what to do and what not to do. One of the main things that I've seen so far is, and what climate has changed, or how has it changed since the number of incidents that's happened on college? How has that changed college-wise as to what students do and staff does?
Well, I think the one thing that I've noticed is that students are, when it comes to sexual assaults, they're afraid to report it. Another thing is that's changing now, that campuses are really working on, is empowering friends to intervene when they see someone that may be making a bad choice. Maybe they see a friend that's had too much to drink at a party and they're being led upstairs into the frat house, into a room or another room, and they need to step in. They need to step in and stop that behavior and keep something that that person may regret the next morning. So I'm seeing a little bit more from what campuses are doing is to empower the students. You have the power to step in to make a difference. And that's something that I believe that students need to start doing, is taking responsibility, not worrying about themselves and looking around and taking care of their fellow man, if you would, and that's my concern. The secondly is that drinking is that if you look in the papers, you see in the news all the time about especially freshman students will overdrink and they'll have alcohol poisoning and actually will die of it because of binge drinking. That is a concern. There's campuses in this area where they had that tragedy. And probably the biggest thing that we're seeing within a community is the use of heroin in the Chicagoland area, and that is up big time. And that's the number one accidental death, as they call it, in Will County right now, is heroin overdose. So that is a concern for law enforcement and for campus.
Now, and I'll ask you this question. What would you tell a parent that's sending her child off for the first time as far as being safe? You've talked about a number of things as far as being safe. You got a daughter or son that's going off to college for the first time. What would you sit down and tell them? Because there are a number of things that are happening out there, with all the sororities and everything, as you say, the will of freedom. What would you tell your child?
I would tell my child to be smart. I would sit down and explain how important it is to know your surroundings, to get familiar with the campus and all the buildings, to get familiar where the police department is, or some campuses have security offices, where those are, to get phone numbers that are necessary to have, to lock your door, not to leave your property just laying around. There's lounge areas where you can go and do homework, not just to leave your laptop and then get up and go to the bathroom, or your friend that you just met the first semester, you give them your room key to go get something, to be smart about it, to think about the consequences, and remind them that I know you're going to college to have fun and you're going to have experiences, and that's what college is about, growing up. But to remember there's always consequences with your actions, not only yours, but anyone you might bring onto campus, your friends that don't go there, that might bring the drugs on or the alcohol on for you, that just because you might not have brought it, the fact that they're associated with you and you brought them to campus, then you are reliable for that and you're responsible for that. And just keep basically all the morals and the ethics and values that you raise your children, to remind them that when you leave this house, you gotta leave with them. And you gotta remember all those things, because what you do there, you're solely responsible for. You can't come running home to mom and saying, what do I do? Because now you're there. Not only are you gonna get in trouble with law enforcement possibly, but with the university itself, and that goes on your transcripts. And a lot of kids don't realize that goes on your transcripts. And when you leave and you're finally getting out of this rebellious stage, that could very well follow you when someone comes to, do a background on you or ask about what kind of student you were. So even though your freshman year, you want to have fun and you're free from home, remember it's going to follow you all the way through and even beyond.
Now, Chief, what are you telling parents? I know we talk about the talking notes, like know how to contact your public safety officer, the police, walking around campus, in the residence hall, motor vehicle safety, when driving, safety walking, jogging, or running. How are you presenting this to the parents when they come for the first time, and then relaying that to the students as they move on?
Well, much like my colleagues at other institutions, we do parent and new student orientations. And every topic that Officer Hill just mentioned is touched on. But what parents want to hear, and what my promise as the chief law enforcement officer of that university, is that, you're leaving your child in my hands, in our hands. They're joining our community. And I let the parents know what all the resources are, what their student, their child, is going to be held accountable for. And through that orientation, even though the student goes through the same thing, what we're hoping is that's going to be reinforced by the parent. Because, mom and dad, they're still going to talk, they're still going to text, the student's still going to come home on a weekend and do laundry. So there's going to be a lot of chances to interact. And once we let the parents know, as we do with the students, of all the various resources, of our law enforcement responsibilities to their student and especially to our institution, we're letting the parents reinforce that message back to the student. And when you do an orientation right, well, what I'm always looking for is I'm looking for that head nod, where mom and dad are absolutely agreeing that that student should be held accountable, that they are responsible for their actions, that they're glad to hear that there are resources on campus, there are mentors, there are counselors. Our whole goal is for you to succeed. We thank you for coming to our institution. We congratulate you for attempting or proceeding through your formal education. And our promise to you and my promise to the moms and dads, the parents, is that if your student does what he or she is supposed to, I'm certainly going to do what I have to do, and that student is going to graduate and move on and have a very successful life.
Now, Commander, pretty much on the same line now, we tell students that when you're in high school, it's almost a control factor.
Right.
When you get to college, you have the freedom to do what or not to do. How is freedom dictated to students in college as far as what they're doing? Are they allowed to bring a car there for the first year? If they bring their car, are there any restrictions that they may have?
No, at JJC, they don't have to register their vehicles or have any particular permits to park in our lots. They just need to be cognizant that we do have lots that are designated for faculty and staff, and they could be ticketed for parking in the wrong lot. And that we do, as we patrol, take a look at things like license plates, registration, and stickers, and they could be ticketed for those things. So they definitely want to have those type of things in order with their vehicles. And what we do, just like my colleagues, is we attend the orientations and we teach them responsibility. We have a student code of conduct that we work with our Dean of Student Development. And what I like about the code of conduct is it gives us a venue to correct poor behavior versus making a criminal arrest. So there are many times where students could be in violation of a college policy or even a misdemeanor law, where we may choose not to make a criminal arrest and refer them to the student code of conduct, plagiarism, some theft, and things of that nature, and we educate them on those things as well.
Danielle, when you talked about sexual assault, so often you get students that are friends, very close friends, and something happens to that nature where one of them are sexually assaulted. How do you relay that to a young lady who just walked in your office and said, my best friend sexually assaulted me? How do you deal with that?
It can be a very, very complicated situation when it is a case of acquaintance rape, which more often than not, it is. 90% of women know their attackers. And sometimes it is their best friend who sexually assaults them. And it's very important to encourage them to come forward and get the help that they need, whether it's the medical help, just getting themselves checked out, making sure that they're not hurt, or pursuing a court case if they choose to do so, filing a police report, and coming in for counseling too. That's one of the things that really drew me to our agency, is that we offer all of those services for free. So people don't have to be worried about how they're going to afford counseling, how they're going to afford to take care of themselves. We can help them with that. Another thing that happens a lot is somebody will report to their friend that they've been sexually assaulted, and their friend doesn't know what to do. And in that case, we relay the same information to them, making sure that they know that they can give their friend our contact information and we can help them out. It's just very important that they feel that support from their friends, from their family, and know that they don't have to be re-traumatized, that they can come forward and not be judged, not be blamed for what happened. And in cases of acquaintance rape, that is oftentimes what people are afraid of, especially if it's a mutual friend. They're afraid that somebody is going to take sides. So it's just very important that that doesn't really happen, that the victim is supported.
Now, do you ever go to the colleges themselves and orientate staff on incidents like this, or what they should be looking for and how to handle these kind of incidents?
Yes, we do, actually. We offer professional trainings for staff, for teachers, and this is for colleges, and even as we've been into preschools all the way through colleges, I should say. It's something that we're looking to get more and more into on college campuses. I feel like this is a great topic that's been brought up a lot more in the news recently. I feel like we're making some progress in that way. But we do offer free professional trainings for staff so that they can have a better feeling for what victims are going through, how sexual assault takes place, particularly on college campuses, including the use of date rape drugs, parties, all things like that. And they also understand a little bit better about how to respond to the victim. That's another thing that I feel like we're making some progress on, is that people are more aware now that you don't want to say, well, what were you wearing? Well, what were you doing? How are you responsible for this? That's one of the main things that we would go over.
Lauren, this whole topic is educating students for the first time that's going on the campus, and even those that are on campus 1 or 2 years. What are you telling parents when you talk to parents that's got students that are going off to college? What are you talking to the parents about based on experience?
With
No,
safety,
Lori.
I always tell parents to make sure that their kids know their surroundings. When you get on campus, you got that freedom, and everyone wants to go and make friends and hang out and do all those extracurricular activities, but it's really, I think it's very important to know your campus, know the exits, know where all the dark areas are, know where the emergency phones are, the blue light system, things like that. Make sure that they know to not be by yourself, safety in numbers. Hang out with friends, and if there's a time where you need to go out by yourself, make sure to know your surrounding. Carry something that makes a noise, something that could maybe distract someone from attacking you. Always think ahead. Always think ahead.
I heard you say something about blue light system. What is that?
On campus, there's certain areas where they have this blue light system, where if there is, if you have an emergency, if you're being attacked, you can run over to this telephone and contact someone, the campus police, for emergencies.
And that's accessible across the whole campus?
Yes, there's multiple phones.
What is one of your toughest experience as a student at Lewis University that you can relate to?
I would have to say toughest is definitely the drinking. It's everywhere. It's everyone's doing it. Everyone wants you to do it. A lot of peer pressure. So that was always something that was tough for me. My friends always wanted to go and drink, even when I wasn't of age. And yet, for me, I was very goal oriented, and I always thought ahead. I said, how is this going to affect me, and how will it also affect others? Because your actions affect both. So I always had to stop and think and say, is this smart? Is this something that I should do? So I always try to prevent bad things from happening that way. So
But then you were an athlete too, so that kind of prevented you from doing some of those, making those bad choices.
Yes, that definitely helped being an athlete. I always had to be prepared for practice, prepared for games. So there wasn't much time for goofing around or doing the drinking. Wasn't smart, so I always try to avoid that.
Okay. Officer Ferry, we talk about cell phone protection. You know, every kid has a cell phone. How do you get it across to them as to the protection of their cell phone and having the identity theft using cell phones? How do you get that across to them?
Well, you got to let them know that having those cell phones, you're a target. You're a target right off the bat if you're displaying it and using it recklessly per se. Having your head down and walking around not paying attention where you can get it snatched off and taken away. You have to make sure that you have your systems and safety systems within your cell phone, make sure it's locked, that you only have the combination to open it up and keep it secure. And also, in regards to cell phone safety, it really should have information on their cell phone for emergencies for police and campus security when they're walking around to begin with, where they can dial it fast to have it when they're on campus, so they don't have to fumble trying to figure out a number. That number should be plugged in that cell phone to begin with. Kids just have to be smart, because if you're walking around with a $500 phone and if you aren't paying attention, knowing your surroundings and knowing when to have it out, if you're commuting to the city and you have to take public transportation, you may not want to have that out, where you might get it snatched out of your hand. So some things can wait if you can keep it secured so no one can see it, not make yourself a target.
Now we get to the crux of what we're here for. Officer Leo, when we talk about campus safety, what has been done within the last, so you've been 3 years. What do you think has been done within the last 3 years that has enforced campus safety? And what measures you think has been taken by your staff, your commanders and your staff itself?
My chief and deputy chief are huge on the officers getting involved with the students, creating programs for the students. So one program that I created with student organizations, a lot of Greek and some of the life students, is an alcohol awareness program. And it's amazing to see how little students know about alcohol and the effects. And we made it fun, so they would want to learn about it and listen. We didn't want to make it about PowerPoint type of presentation. We would fill cups of water and we would play beer pong or flippy cup, and we would stand there and we would have them tally. How many drinks have you just drank in 5 minutes because you're not paying attention and you're just drinking and you're drinking? And they're like, I mean, we're talking seniors even, are like, wow, I did not even realize. And we would have them make phony drinks and say, okay, this is a bottle of Jack Daniels. Here's a cup. You pour how much you would pour in your drink, your one drink. And they're like, pouring it. And then I would take out a cup and show them how much an actual shot is. And I'm like, okay, so how many drinks is in that one cup? And they're like, oh my gosh, that's like 5 drinks. And it made them really aware of, wow, that's too much. And we do that, we have a drug awareness program where Romeo brings out the canine and does demonstrations and get the kids really involved in what's going on around the campus. And my deputy chief just started doing an ALICE training for active shooter, teaching the students how to get out and to be aware and to know your surroundings. So our police department is very active in really engaging and wanting to engage with the students. We're currently, I've been trying to get grants and trying to get funding for our RAD program, which is an awesome program for female students to teach them self-defense, tactics, and awareness against assault. So our department is very active with interacting with the students, not just kind of patrolling, not the typical law enforcement thing, but we want the students to know we're there for them. And we're not there just to, mess with them and, arrest them, that we're there to prevent things from happening, and we want them to prevent things from happening. So really big on programs, educating them, teaching them, how to do the right thing.
Chief, based on what Officer Leo said, what has changed 43 years within the last 10 years that you didn't see before that time in colleges that you're going, why didn't we do this years ago?
Well, certainly it probably starts with the staffing of your public safety or your campus police, campus security, whatever your name may be. It wasn't that many years ago when, and God bless them all, but, the best you'd get out of campus security is a retired, elderly, overweight security guard walking around with a ring of keys and a thermos of coffee. Those days, I can assure you, are long gone. We have, as we all do at our various institutions, extremely professional, extremely highly trained, motivated campus police officers who take ownership and pride in the programming, in the success of the university, certainly in the students. So the first thing I would have to say would be the professionalism of campus safety, through staff. Probably, at least for my institution, over the last 10 years, would be advanced security technology, something that, again, was unheard of 10, 15, 20 years ago, when these students' parents probably went to school. We're talking about surveillance systems, closed-circuit televisions, pan-tilt zoom, cameras in parking lots, cameras at the entrances of dorms, cameras in common areas, large lecture halls, keyless card access entry, biometric type of cards, radio frequency cards that they're specific to a student. And when that student swipes, no matter where on campus, at least with our system, you get a time date stamp. You get their photo ID will come up. The emergency dispatcher can look up at the array of monitors that we have and identify, okay, that student belongs in that dorm. The code blue lights, the emergency lights that we were talking about earlier, they're now all over campus, in every parking lot, on every building. You can't go, probably 50 or 100 paces without encountering a light. Now, they're not used every day. Most of the time, they're just used because somebody locks their keys out of their car and they want to get a hold of our campus police to come out and help them. But it's there for an emergency. And thirdly, probably in the last year, certainly, probably in the last 3 or 4 years, is the mandated federal and state legislation. That if you weren't doing it before, you must now comply with laws, and that is the awareness and the education, especially violence against women, date rape, bystander education, domestic violence, drug and alcohol use and abuse, emergency preparedness, active shooter, taking shelter in place, lockdowns. And again, as I mentioned, if you weren't doing it before, every school now is compelled to do that. And not necessarily compelled, but it's giving an even playing field across the country and across the state, that every campus is performing basically the same duties in the same professional manner.
And I'm sure that Officer Ferry wanted to have this just for what you're saying, to get the message out to parents that's going to watch this program, knowing that their child, when it goes off to college, is going to have a chance of being safe and have a chance of making the right choices. Commander, what have you seen within the last 10 years that has changed, that has gotten better, I'm sure, no doubt, than 10 years before?
I would agree with Chief, the modernization of technology. However, I think this phenomenon of the active shooter, individuals coming on to school grounds and college campuses, randomly taking innocent lives. And so one of the reasons you see now more sworn police on college campuses is because of incidents like this. So we train highly to respond to critical incidents, workplace violence, hostage barricade situations, and active shooter scenarios. We literally run live drills to train our faculty and staff on how to respond to active shooters. And we also train under that national model of NIMS, the National Incident Management System, using the run, hide, and fight techniques. And so what we do through our community policing program is we go in with our key stakeholders and we train, okay, if you're in the building, in a hallway, in a classroom, you shelter in place. You lock that door, you turn off the lights, you call 911 if you can, you hide in the closet, and you don't open that door for anyone because the police will have a key. Oftentimes the shooters will try to pose as police to get in and take innocent lives. But if you're out in the parking lot, okay, and you're in an open area, you want to try to evacuate. Tell anybody around you there's a dangerous situation, an intruder, and notify them that they must also evacuate. Call 911, get off the campus. But if for some reason you have been approached by someone who means you harm and is going to possibly take your life, then by all means you must fight. If you're in a group, it's better to attack or defend yourself in a group scenario, but you have to stay committed to your actions. Okay, use improvised weapons, a fire extinguisher, a chair, anything you can to defend yourself, because that person is going to do you harm. And so I think that the active shooter has really changed the climate on many of our campuses.
And I'm sure because we do it pretty much in the public school area. But I can imagine because of all the shootings that you guys have had in the colleges, that were mass shootings and a number of lives that have been taken, it has redirected your efforts on how you do things now.
Right.
On a college level. And I hear you talk about Alice, you know, and run, hide, and fight type things. Usually it was originally for office buildings, and now they brought it into the school campus. Officer Ferry, now, on something like that, because you're all over the place. I mean, you're in the park district, you're in the schools, I mean, you're on the streets, you're everywhere. How do you relate this to high school students now getting ready to go into the college level?
Well, they need to be prepared. They need to know when they're going into a campus setting that they know what their environment is, where they are. Be prepared. When they go into their study hall area, or if they're going to a lecture hall, they need to know the exits. They need to know what to do if. Prepared, just like if you're playing baseball, when you're playing an infield, what if the ball's hit to me, what am I going to do in this play? It's the same thing, except it's for their lives. They have to be prepared. They can't just check out when they're going to campus. They have to be aware, what if. Now, they don't have to be on edge at all times, but be prepared when they get in and sit down in their classroom, when they sit down at the chair and say, hey, where's the closest exit? What if I hear this? Or what if something happens? What do I do? And one of the biggest things that I really would like students to be doing is that don't listen to their friends. They have to act individually to decide what they're going to do. If a friend says, no, we can't leave, we shouldn't leave, if they're saying something and they believe that the safest thing to do is exit, get away from it, they need to follow that. They need to follow their instincts. That's the biggest thing that I've seen in crime prevention when it comes to victims of crime and such. If they feel something inside that doesn't seem right, they need to follow their instincts. So the students, when they go to school, they need to be prepared not to check out. You know, our kids are very sharp, they're very smart, but they also have to use common sense. The biggest thing is common sense. Just follow their instincts when something's happening, and that's the biggest thing. And my goal in this program is that this may get to one student and it'll make a difference. That they know that they should do something. They know to be prepared when they step on campus this fall.
Danielle, are we doing enough in educating our students as to some of the situations they may face?
I feel it's getting better. I feel we're headed in the right direction in that regard. It's something that for years people didn't want to talk about. But I feel like we're taking the right step. I mean, starting here. One of the big things I think that would help would be to talk about crime prevention and sexual assault prevention more at freshman orientations, which is actually something that some college campuses are working on. I've already been contacted to schedule things for this next coming school year. But just, there are so many topics that need to be covered. We talk a lot about personal safety, and that is a huge thing. You know, looking out for yourself, we always say, don't be afraid, be aware. As he said, be aware of your surroundings, know what's going on, know what you would do. There are other things that need to be talked about too, like bystander intervention. I actually teach classes about how important bystander intervention is. To do something if you see something that's suspicious or dangerous, illegal, get involved somehow, whether it's directly or indirectly. I think that would be a big help also, because as was mentioned earlier, sometimes people see things. They see that girl being led up into the frat house, as somebody said, but they just kind of step back and they don't want to get involved. They don't want to start trouble, where we can do so much to protect our friends and to protect those people around us. That's one of the things that we don't talk about enough, I don't believe. But like I said, I feel like we're taking a step in that direction, so that's very, very positive.
Lori, what do you think can happen? What do you think can improve from what you've seen as a freshman, sophomore, junior? Now you're a senior, you graduated, but we're saying when you were a senior, what do you think can improve in getting the message out?
I think definitely having more programs on campus or just events where kids can go and learn about campus safety. Learn about what to do in certain situations, what they should have with them, how to, just self-defense. I think just getting the word out there. Education is very important, and a lot of kids come into college and don't have any experience with any type of self-defense or anything. So just teaching, just educating them on the right things to do.
Okay. As I told you, this time would go pretty fast, and what I'm going to do is have each person take about a minute and a half and leave the audience a message that you would want them to hear, that they could go out and educate their students, talk to faculty and say, I think this should happen, or that should happen, or I see something that I am not happy with. A change, what would you want to leave the viewing audience based on what you've heard here today and what you've already expressed yourself?
I would like the audience to know, an incoming freshman to the universities or colleges, to come in to have fun and to learn and to experience, but to be responsible, to know your surroundings, to be aware, to educate yourself, join in and go to programs, because sometimes, students don't think it's cool, but go, they're fun. Don't be afraid to talk to the police. Sometimes the police get a bad image or a bad rap. And one thing I can say about at a university or a college level, the police have a different role than patrolmen on the street. We're able to really get involved with the students. We don't have a zero tolerance, so to speak. We can help you make the right decisions, that we're there to be your friend, not your enemy, to use us as a guide. And just to be smart. Don't let your fun and freedom overtake the logic that you know you have.
Chief?
Right. Those are some really, really important things that Officer Hill brought up. And if I can just, condense them for my final portion here, for our incoming students, new students, transfer students, and for their parents, you should realize that you're already coming to us, with us, and we're here, our campus community is here to support you. You don't have to deal with any kind of a challenge on your own, whether it's domestic battery, whether it's alcohol abuse, whether you have a roommate or a friend that you really are concerned about. You just don't have to shake your head and say, gee, that's really too bad. There are programs, initiatives we can plug you into, or will help plug a friend into that will make you succeed. The other side of that coin is that our community, just as the community that you lived in your whole life, we have rules. We will hold you responsible. College, while it's a time to enjoy, to experience, to meet new friends, to learn, to plan and program your adult history, it's not a free ride. You just can't do what you want to do just because mom and dad are paying $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 a year for tuition. They're doing that for a reason. They want you to succeed. And if it takes us to impose sanctions on you to change your habits, to make you succeed, know that that's going to happen also. As much as we're going to help you, we're also going to impose sanctions, and it's only because we want you to succeed. Because after those 4 years, that's it. You're on your own. You're looking for a career, employment. You may or may not move back with mom and dad. You'll be having your own place. In many cases, they'll be getting involved in various very serious relationships, and all those skills that you hopefully picked up in your college life, you'll be able to apply in your adult life.
Okay, Commander?
I'm going to say, stay focused on the mission. You're there to get an education. Certainly experience the entire collegiate experience. Be involved with student groups, clubs, organizations, athletics. Have fun, but have fun responsibly and stay focused on the mission, and that is that you're there to get an education. In the process, understand safety, okay? Understand driving safety. Don't be a distracted driver. Drive plenty of time to get to class and some of the things I mentioned at the onset. You know, understand the principles of the crime prevention triangle. Don't leave books and cell phones and other audio video things unattended, because individuals see that as a crime of opportunity. Stolen books equate to money. They take your books and turn them in and they cash them in. So these are all the things I think they need to understand. Understand personal safety. When you walk into your car at night, don't look discombobulated, disshuffled. Walk with authority. Have your keys in your hand when you get to the car. Don't leave the car unlocked, windows cracked. Check the back seat before you get in. Don't leave valuables sitting in plain view. Put them in the trunk, things of that nature. Identity theft. You know, now with a lot of this social media, students are putting out personal information over social media. Don't do that. You could become a victim. You know, understand things like phishing scams, where individuals pose as a legitimate vendor like your bank or your credit union, and they want to ask you for personal information over the internet. Legitimate companies never do that. So understand, you know, how not to be a victim of identity theft. Don't leave personal information in your residence hall where you may trust your roommate, but they may invite a friend over and you got your personal information sitting there. Use a shredder. Don't put personal information in the garbage, because thieves go to the garbage and they rampage through the garbage to get your information. And so, having said that, I also want the incoming student to recognize the first person that's responsible for your safety is you. So understand your evacuation routes, know what to do if there is an intruder in the building, and things of that nature. And then finally, at JJC, we've been successful at cultivating a culture of security. So when you come onto our campuses, you will feel safe.
Lori?
I would like the audience to know that college is awesome. You know, it's a place it's a place where you get to learn new skills and experience new experiences that you've never had before. It's a place to become an adult. So I would just say, you know, always think ahead. I know it's such a new experience, you know, you don't have your parents with you anymore, but to take what your parents have taught you and apply it to all of your experiences at college, and then develop that so you can become a good person and apply those skills out in the real world. But always think ahead, you know, educate yourself. It's very important. You are educated by others at college, but there are things you need to educate yourself on, like your surroundings, safety, you know, just all the important things to help keep yourself safe and others, because your actions, like I've said before, don't only affect you, but they affect everybody else. And if everybody works together on campus, you can make it a safe place and have fun at the same time.
Spoken like a true graduate. Danielle?
One of the main things would be just to always remember that prevention is key. Even when away at college, there are things obviously that you can do to protect yourself, and we've talked about most of these things, and people have said them in their closing remarks. The only thing that I feel like hasn't come up very much is the idea that you will be meeting new people. That's one of the great things about going to college, going away to college even, is that you get to meet so many new people who you've never known before. It's a great new experience. But you have to keep in mind that in meeting new people, you're meeting people who you don't know, and it's important that you just don't jump into trusting them right away. You have to take that time to get to know people, kind of like some issues that come up with online dating. Could be very, very similar. You don't really know these people yet. Take your time, get to know them, and be safe if you do decide to go out on a date with them, to become friendly with them. And prevention goes in other ways too. You know, as I said, we talked about the personal safety, but getting involved in campus activities and encouraging your school to get involved in prevention programs. So doing things like Take Back the Night to raise awareness. There's also the Clothesline Project. Talk to your counselors at school, your professors, the staff in general, and let them know that you are interested in getting involved somehow to get your campus involved. On the flip side of that, it's also important to remember that you can come forward about these things. If anything ever happens to you, it is never your fault, and there are people out there who want to help you. It's okay to report to the police. It's okay to report to the hospitals. I personally have had very few issues. It seems a lot scarier based on just what you see on TV and in TV shows and in movies. But it's not the way it really works from my experience. There are people out there who want to help you, who want to help get you to where you need to be, whether it's into counseling or getting the medical attention that you need. You can come forward. Like I said earlier, our agency offers completely free services for counseling and advocacy. And we also have a 24-hour hotline, so 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you or someone you know is ever affected by sexual violence or domestic violence, you can call that number and get emotional support and information about the steps that you can take from there.
Officer Perry, we got about 30 seconds left on the air, but I want to thank you for bringing this program to the lightning of parents that will watch this that's got students going to college. So what would your closing statement be?
Well, first of all, I would just say there's a simple saying out there: you see something, say something. You see something going on, whatever it might be that doesn't seem right, let your campus police know about it. Rather have us check it out and turn out to be nothing, and then maybe you regret it later. And finally, I want to thank all the panelists that agreed to come on this show. It's if it wasn't for them, that it wouldn't happen, and I appreciate their knowledge and coming out and making this happen.
And we don't want this to be our first and last time doing this. We want it to happen again because college goes on, education goes on, awareness goes on. So we want to make sure we continue this, and we will have another program like this. But Officer Perry, thank you for bringing this to our attention, because this is going to be shown and shown enough and a lot of times. So, and people will get it because they will see it. And I'm glad that all of you were here, because you gave a lot of knowledge. You gave a lot of information that's going to make a parent feel very good about college and sending their children to college based on what you're saying here tonight. So I want to thank you. My name is Leroy Brown, and this is Bridging the Gap.